Today's video is spawned from a question I got at work the other day. I was asked, what do I have to do to get my chickens ready for winter? Well, they was a little surprised with my answer when I said, not really that much. Stick around. Boy, those are some beautiful chickens, aren't they? Let's take a look and see what we got to do to get them ready for the cold weather coming on. So let's talk about a chicken's basic needs for a minute. Chickens need food, water, and shelter. Not too much different from a human. However, unlike humans, chickens have the ability to do something that we can't, and they can actually regulate their own body temperature. You notice all them feathers on them? Of course you do. They're chickens. We know they have feathers. Well, that's how they regulate their body temperature. And if you try to heat a chicken house, you could actually cause more harm to the chicken by heating the chicken house than what you can just by leaving it cold. And that's because it interferes with their ability to regulate their body temperatures as needed. So this is the inside of our chicken coop. I got videos on how I built this. It's made out of an old pop-up camper. Very easy build, but the main thing about it is when it comes to winter, you got to learn how to keep the air off of them, because like I said, chickens already have the ability to regulate their own body temperature. So the big thing is to keep the frost off of them. And a lot of times what happens when chickens get frostbite, and I've actually had them happen to my chickens before, the worst of it is the ones that have the big tall combs. They get frostbite, they fall off, their head starts bleeding, and that regulates a whole other issue of problems that can happen with the chickens, because we all know chickens like to pick at sores and stuff. And yeah, so one of the first things I want to do, and I'm not going to get to it this evening, it's going to be probably tomorrow even when I do this, because it's starting to get kind of late now, but I'm going to take a tarpaulin and I'm going to attach it to the front of this cage wire here. And that's just to keep the drafts from going back in there and causing a issue with the body temperature of the chickens. So, and that'll help keep the frost off of them too. Another big recommendation I have is make sure you got plenty of pine shavings or sand or something of that on the floor of your chicken house. And that'll help keep your chicken's feet from getting messed up, because you get around some of these type of floors, it gets really cold. I know here in West Virginia, especially around February, we're no stranger to getting temperatures below zero for a few days, and so you want to make sure they got their feet's not going to freeze to the floor. So plenty of pine shavings. It kind of helps keep them a little bit on warmer side too. And some people do what they call deep letter method, where they just keep piling. They have sand and put pine shavings and let it keep piling on top of the manure that drops into, and that helps bring the temperature up in a building a little bit. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. You guys can just search deep letter method, and you're probably going to have who knows how many thousands of videos on how to do that process. I just prefer to try to keep the chicken house as clean as I can, and just keep the chickens as comfortable as I can. They're already starting to roost already. Boy, we got some pretty birds. I turned the video off too quick. That one there tried to make a run for the top of that roost. It did not quite make it. I think it's going to try again. Let's see. Let's watch this. She's thinking. She's thinking. About 3 minutes later. She made it. So I guess I kind of lied to you guys a little bit. I went ahead and stapled the tarp up there. I had access to it. Just an old tarp that was laying on the ground in the barn, not being used for nothing. And, you know, I just stretched it out over top and just used a regular heavy duty stapler, like you'd use for any craft project, and stapled it around the top of the frame of the camper and down around onto the platform, just to keep it from blowing away. And it's going to go a long ways in protecting the chickens from the elements in the wintertime. And I ran out of material right here on the corner. I just had a little small piece. I didn't have no material, so I had a couple empty feed sacks. I just stapled them up there, and again, that'll help keep the drafts out and hopefully keep the chickens safe this winter. Hopefully they won't get frostbite. So that's a pretty good idea. We're going to continue this video more in the morning, and when we do, we're going to talk about the next most important thing, and that's water. It's also one of the hardest things to do. I don't know why you turkeys insist on roosting outside. Be so much better protected inside the coop. But I guess you're not causing me any issue. No, it's not the next morning. It's actually late in the evening. I actually had a busy day, but don't have that much more to talk about. But, you know, yesterday we talked about putting up the tarp around the side to help keep the draft out of the chicken tractor. But right now we're going to talk about something that was a big pain for me last year. One of the hardest things for me to do last year, especially when it got cold, was to keep the water from freezing up. I was constantly bringing water from out of the house. I'd have to take the bowls inside and let them thaw out. And of course, when that happens, you get a muddy mess on the floor because, you know, there's the dirt and stuff freezes and it thaws out inside. It was a bad situation all around. So there's several remedies we can go for on this. They sell water drinkers with heaters and stuff in them, and that's always an option you can get, but they're kind of expensive. Or what I could do is use stuff that I already have on hand, and I wish I'd have thought about this last year. This is a heater for a stock tank. I had it when we had the steers in here. So what this does is sets into a stock tank, and it helps keep the water from freezing. Well, one of the things I noticed when we had it, because we just used a cooler when we did it, big cooler, this got the water really, really hot. That's because of the size of the tank I was using. So my question was, because I was wanting to keep using the pool, but the question was, would this melt the pool? So something my wife suggested was use one of these Rubbermaid bowls like you see here. So we had a couple of these around. You can find these at any feed store, Rural King, Tractor Supply, anywhere like that. A lot of times it'd be in the equine section. But put that in there because it's rubber. Then set the heater down in there. And I believe with that filled full of water, I believe that'll project enough heat around that to keep the water from freezing up. At least that's the theory behind it. We're going to try it this year. There's no need plugging it in just right yet, which we'll run stitching cords to the house. But this is an experiment that I'm wanting to try this year. Hopefully it works out for us. But as you can see, getting your chickens ready for winter isn't that big of a deal. Just remember, food, water, and shelter. You don't even have to worry about the heat. Heat can be bad. Don't heat the chicken houses. You guys getting ready for bed? You guys think it's nighttime? It is getting kind of late, ain't it? Look at this pretty girl. What you doing? What you doing? Ah, don't want petted. Thank you for stopping by today. I hope I was some kind of alignment on the idea of what do we really need to do for our chickens for winter. And, you know, honestly, you don't have to do that much for them. It's really not that hard. Just remember food, water, shelter, and try to stay away from the idea of heat. So heat can be bad for them. So until next time, just remember, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.